In this video, I'm going to show you how to make every single type of sound in Rollers Drum and Bass. Now, all the presets we're going to make in this video are from my Rollers DNB sample pack. Over 500 samples, 75 Serum presets, and 3 project files. I'll leave a link down below if you want to grab that. But without further ado, let's look at making the first bass. And we're going to look at an 808 bass to start with, and it sounds like this. What we're going to do first is initialize the patch, and then on oscillator A, we're going to grab a analog BD sine, which is a sine wave, and then we're going to put it down -2 octaves. Next, we want to shape the sound, and we can do this with envelope 1. So this will automatically shape the sound. You don't need to attach it to the level. So we want a little bit of an attack, around about 50-ish. We'll turn up the delay slightly to about 1.5-ish, and then we want to turn the sustain down to about -15 and turn the release to about 140. So now we should get this sound. It's basically just a sub with an envelope on at the moment. Now to get the transient, so the initial hit of the bass, how to get that sounding even sharper, we can add LFO1 to the coarse here, the coarse pitch. So we drag this onto the coarse pitch, and then we hold Alt and Shift and click to get it to go only one way, and then we can drag this up to about 40-ish, 44, and now if we put this on envelope mode and press play, we'll get some weird sound. But if we're to drag this down like this, you can hear it's a bit more aggressive now, the sound. The higher it goes, the more aggressive it is. So you can do this to taste. So I'm going to leave it like that for now, and then we can come back to it once we add some distortion. Next, we're going to add a filter. So we're going to add MG low 18, and we're just going to leave it on those settings just to ensure no sounds above 425 Hertz are coming through, because this is an 808 bass, so it's very low end heavy. Now let's go onto the effects tab, and let's add a compressor and some distortion. We'll turn the gain up a little bit, and then we'll turn the tube distortion up to around about here. And then let's just turn the master volume up. And then one other thing we can do is turn this wave deposition around like this. And then we'll just adjust this a little bit higher, so it's like this. And then we have our first sound. Now we can add other stuff to this. For example, we could add like an OTT to it. It just depends what kind of sound you want to get from it and how much you want to push it. So if we add like a Saturn as well, start to get these kind of nice sounds coming through. That sounds pretty cool. And then obviously we can go through the octaves as well. We could go higher and just play around, experiment. Next, we're going to make this foghorn. Let's initialize the patch. And in this one, it's a bit more complicated. So we're going to want to use oscillator A and oscillator B. And we're going to want to pick basic Ward for the first one and basic MCB for the second one. Now you can see this is a sine wave and this is a sawtooth. So these are going to mash together to create some really awesome sound. So we're going to use the sine as the low end and the sawtooth as the higher end. So low end is just -2 octaves and high end is +7 semitones, as I've just done there. Now we want to turn the level of basic MCB completely off because we're going to FM it from B. And we're going to turn this up to about 50%. We also want to turn the level of oscillator A off, and that's because we want to shape the LFO using LFO1. So we're going to whack this on here, put this on envelope mode, 2 bars, and then we're going to shape the sound. I'm going to shape it like this, and like this. So now we should have something like this. That's the foundation of the sound. Now we're going to add a filter, and we're going to add MG low 12, turn both oscillators on for it, turn the cutoff all the way down, the drive all the way up, and then we're going to grab the LFO1 and drag it on the cutoff all the way around. And we're just going to increase the res by 5%. So now we have this. So you can see the sound is starting to come to life. Next, we're going to add a little bit of variation to this FM sound. So we're going to get LFO2. It's on envelope mode. We're going to put it on a quarter rate like this. And then we're just going to drag this shape like this and put this on the FM. Hold Shift and Alt and click, and then drag it to about -20. And this will give the initial hit sound a little bit of variation and add to the sound design. Now let's put Bend Plus on oscillator B. And we're going to go to LFO3, create another shape on envelope and 2 bar, and drag this back to around about here, like this. And then drag this on the bend and just have it on a little bit. So you can see it's changing shape. Now let's turn the master down because it's distorting quite a bit. Okay, not distorting anymore. Now we want to add a pitch down, and we can do this on LFO 4. So we drag this all the way to the side, envelope mode, 2-bar mode. And to do this, we can literally just drag this onto the fin of each one like this. And suddenly we get this down pitch. Next, we want to add some effects. So let's add hyper first. And we're going to turn the size all the way off and the mix up, and then this mix all the way down. Next, we want to add some distortion, and we're just going to move it to diode 1 and leave it like that. Now let's add some compression. We're going to turn the multiband on and the gain right up. Now we start getting the bulk of the sound and it's sounding really good. Next, we want to add a filter on MGLO 12 again and boost this up to about 1400 Hertz. Just to cut off any of those harsh frequencies. Now we want to add an EQ, and we'll get rid of some of the muddiness by putting it on this mode and then just dragging it down and increasing the Q. And we'll do this at about the 300 to 400 range. So 382 I've got there, and we can just make it like that. And then we'll do the same on this side, but we'll increase the size of one of this with the LFO. So we'll drag the LFO on the gain, Shift Alt click, and then we can create a shape here. So let's try about 3500. Drag this back. And you can do this to taste. Then we'll add some chorus and some reverb. Turn the mix down on the chorus and turn the size down on the reverb and the decay as well. So you can do these to taste. And there we have the sound. Absolutely filthy. Now, if you've just been getting into music production recently and you want to take it to the next level, then my Music Production Academy is available to join. It's the second link down in the description. If you want more information on that, then click that link, and I hope to see you inside. Next, we're going to make this low Reese bass. Now, these are great for intros as well as drops. So you can use them in like a dark atmospheric intro, or you can use them in drops where the drums are quite heavy. So let's initialize the patch, and then we're going to go to the spectral, and we're going to grab Reese Mess 1. We're going to put it down 2 octaves, and then we're going to apply LFO 1 to this filter. So turn the filter on, cut off right down, put the drive up a little bit, and then we're going to grab this LFO and whack it on the cutoff at 40. Now, the reason we're doing this is because we want to create a little bit of a wobble in the Reese bass. So we can put this on like bar mode, for example, and then just double click to create a shape like this. And then every quarter point, we can just whack this on and create like a shape in the volume of the sound. So let's listen. You can see it's like almost vibrating. Now let's put the unison up to 4. And we get this nice sound. And then we can simply just add a compressor and turn the volume up to taste. Just make sure it's not distorting and you're good to go. And then feel free to add some post-processing. So we could add a satin, for example, try and get more of the sounds to come out. And just play around with sounds over your either intro or your drop and see what you can come up with. This is a really cool sound to work with, and it's really simple as well. Next, we're going to create this aggressive stab bass. This is great for the first hit on your drop, so the very first beat of your drop. It can work really well, and you can use it in other elements as well. Initialize the patch, and we're just going to use oscillator A for this. And we're going to pick this one called B-Sod Square. This is a crazy wavetable, and we're going to put it down -2 octaves, put the unison up 6, drag this to 0.22 here, turn the level off because we're going to add LFO 1 into it, like this. The LFO is going to be envelope shaped, and it's going to be on half rate. We're going to drag it here, drag this LFO down a little bit, and now we should have something that sounds like this. Already sounds pretty cool, just like that. Now let's add the filter, MGLO 12. We're going to bring the cutoff down to 42 and apply the LFO to the cutoff, and then drag this to 34. So we're using this area of the sound. Still sounds really cool. Drag the drive up to 38%. Drag the res up to 16%. Then we're going to add some effects. So we're going to add distortion, compression, EQ. The distortion we're going to leave on tube, but we're going to click this pre button. And we're going to turn it like this up to 71%. So we're just distorting this part of the sound. Then we'll turn the drive all the way up to about 84%. Next, we'll turn the gain up on the compression. And then to give this sound even more oomph, we're going to turn the gain up on the last EQ bar to really affect the high range of it. And then just make sure it doesn't distort by turning the gain down and the master down. And then we get this really aggressive sound. I love using this. Now the next sound we're going to make is a sustain bass, and it sounds like this. Now these sounds are becoming more and more popular in rollers drum and bass just because they're so filthy, and when a drop hits with this kind of bass it just makes the crowd go wild. And you might be thinking, isn't this just like a Foghorn? But this kind of bass hits like straight away. It doesn't really have that long attack and release that a Foghorn might have. This is just like in your face sustain sound. That's why I've called it bass face. So let's initialize the patch. Now this one is a little bit complicated, so follow along closely. So firstly we're going to have two oscillators. Oscillator A is on -2 octaves, oscillator B is on -1 + 4. We're using analog basic Ward for the first oscillator, oscillator A, and then we're using this one down here called MSPW for oscillator B. Next we want to turn bend plus on for oscillator A, turn it all the way around to create this shape, and then for oscillator B we want to put SIM plus on, and we want to drag this about 44%. Then we want to turn the levels off for both oscillators. Next we want to turn noise on and turn the level off for this as well. And then we want to add a filter, MG-Low12, and we just want this to go through oscillator A. We want the cutoff to be 59, and we want to turn the drive right up to about 85, and we want to turn the fat up as well to about 25, 24, 25. Now we want to create the sound with LFO1, so we're going to put it on envelope and bar mode, and we're going to leave a tiny gap at the start for a little bit of an attack, and then we're going to drag this right up like this to make a fat sound. We want to drag LFO1 onto the noise level at 45. We want to drag the LFO1 to oscillator A level at 100%. We want to drag it to the cutoff on the filter at 12, and then we want to get LFO2, put this on trigger mode, put it on T, and then put it on 18T. We want to drag this on the SIM on oscillator B on full like this, and then on the level at full as well. So now we get this sound, which sounds very weird at the moment, but we haven't added any effects yet. So let's add effects now. So first we want to add distortion on diode 1 at about 50%. And already we start to get that sound. Next we want to add a compression on multiband, and we're just going to turn the gain up. Now we start to get really aggressive sound and it's distorting to hell, so let's just turn it down a little bit. And then we want to add an EQ, turn the frequency up, turn this on, and then turn the gain right up, and turn the Q right down, and turn the gain to about there. So we're starting to push the sound now to get that unique frequency. And then we're going to add a filter, MG-Low12 again, and whack LFO1 on it, press Shift, Alt, and click. And then we get that disgusting, filthy sound. And if all else fails, you cannot go wrong with a crazy, fat, fart wobble bass. So I personally love using wobble basses in drum and bass, especially in rollers, and this is one of my favorites. So this is basic shapes and a sine wave. Oscillator B is basic shapes and a sine wave as well. And we're going to FM them together, which means turning the level off for this one and leaving the level on for this one. So we're going to go -2 octaves for the first one, +1 octave for the second one. We're going to turn the rand off for both, because we don't really want the rand to be affecting sine waves. And then on oscillator A, we're going to turn on FM from B. And we're going to turn this up later with the LFO. So we'll just leave it for now. So we've literally just got a sub playing at the moment. We're going to also mix it in with some noise. And we're going to use ARP pink and turn this level right down. Now let's create our wobble. So we're going to go trigger mode, trip, and put it on 14T. And then we can apply this to the level of the noise at 45. We're going to apply it to the level of the FM as well at 27. Then we should start to get some of the sound, which you can hear there. Next, we're going to put a filter on it, and we're going to use one that we don't really use very often, and this is called BP12. So this filter is doing like a low and high pass. We're going to turn on oscillator B and the noise channel, turn the cutoff down to 42, turn the drive up to 32, and now we should get this. So we're focusing on the low range and cutting off the high range essentially, but not cutting it off in such a steep way, in like a nice smooth way. Now we want to go to the effects tab, put distortion on, put compression on, and put a filter on. We want to put diode 1 on the distortion and put this on 90%, and turn the mix right down and apply LFO 1 to the mix at 25 here. Next, we want to turn multiband compression on, turn the gain up and turn the threshold down. Finally, on the filter, we want to go to multi, LH6, and apply LFO 1 to the cutoff, Shift Alt click, change it to 36 here, and then we get this cool sound. But I forgot to press this post button here, change this up to 53%, and then you get more of a gritty sound. And then we can even drag this ourselves to find the best point. So it's up to you where you drag it exactly. Try and integrate it into your tune to find the best position for your track. Now finally, I'm going to let you in on a little secret to my favorite sub bass, and this is to get a sub bass that sounds basically even more aggressive than a normal sub. So we can create our normal sub by using basic shapes and a sine wave here, putting it on -2, turn the rand off here, and then that's it. We just have a sub bass, which you can probably barely hear. Now, if you want to get that sub bass that you can hear on every device, you can hear it on your phone speaker and it sounds crazy. You can do this simple trick. So we add another oscillator here, pick another basic shapes, come here, turn bin 1 off, turn bin 3 on instead, and then simply turn this level down to taste. So let's say we go about 30 to 35%, turn the octave down -2 on here, and turn the rand off here. And if we just get a Pro Q open and press play, you can see we've got our main sub here, but then we've got another frequency coming through here. And you just want to make sure this is quieter than the main sound of the sub. But this is what's adding that more depth and layering to the sub bass. So we can control this further by adding an EQ and adding a filter here, and then just adjusting the frequency to taste. So for example, we can have it like 200-ish, and then we can add a compressor and just change the gain here to make it a bit louder. And then you can see as long as this one isn't exceeding the volume of this one, we're good to go. And you have a really cool aggressive sounding sub bass that sounds really cool underneath your main bass in your rollers track. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you felt like you got some value from it, then please hit that subscribe button. We release a new video every week on this channel. Make sure to leave a comment down below which bass was your favorite and why. Have you managed to use any of these basses in your tracks? And if you want to support the channel and get a hold of the Rollers Drum and Bass pack, then it's the first link down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.